December 1st, 1948. Somerton Beach, Adelaide, South Australia. The sun has barely risen over the Indian Ocean. Two horseback riders make their way along the shoreline. A routine morning ride on a quiet beach in a quiet city still recovering from the trauma of World War II. They notice a man slumped against the seawall, well-dressed, dark suit, polished shoes, a half-smoked cigarette resting on his collar as if it had simply fallen there. They assume he is drunk or sleeping. They ride on. Hours later, another passerby stops. The man hasn't moved. They get closer. They realize he isn't sleeping. Police arrive at the scene. The man is dead. He appears to be in his early to mid-40s. No signs of injury, no signs of a struggle, no identification of any kind, no wallet, no keys, no name, nothing. What investigators were about to uncover over the next several months would become one of the most complex, baffling, and deeply unsettling unsolved mysteries in modern history. A case so strange that it has attracted intelligence experts, professional cryptographers, Cold War historians, and amateur detectives for over 75 years, and still has no definitive answer. The autopsy was conducted almost immediately, and the results only deepened the confusion. The man was in good physical condition, well-nourished, well-built. His calf muscles were unusually developed, the kind of muscular definition you would see in a trained dancer. An athlete, or someone who had spent years in physically demanding work. His clothing was high quality but offered no useful information. And then came the first truly alarming detail. Every single clothing label had been removed. Not one tag, not one manufacturer's mark, not one laundry label. Every item of clothing on his body had been deliberately and carefully stripped of anything that could identify where it came from or who it belonged to. The autopsy results came back and raised even more questions. There were no external injuries, no bruising, no defensive wounds, no signs of violence whatsoever. And yet traces of blood were found in his stomach, and toxicology tests failed to detect any known poisons. The coroner could not determine a cause of death. A healthy, well-dressed man in his 40s, dead on a beach, with no identification, no cause of death, and clothing labels removed from every item he owned. One witness came forward to say they had seen a man matching his description in the same spot the evening before, propped against the seawall, seemingly unconscious. Nobody had stopped to check on him. By morning he was dead. 6 weeks after the body was found, investigators caught what they thought might be a break. An unclaimed brown suitcase was discovered in the cloakroom of Adelaide railway station. Records indicated it had been left there on November 30th, the night before the Somerton man was found dead. Inside were a number of personal items: a dressing gown, slippers, several items of clothing, a small screwdriver, a table knife that had been sharpened to a point, a pair of scissors, and most unusually a reel of a very specific type of orange waxed thread. The kind of thread not commercially available anywhere in Australia at the time. The kind used by the United States military for repairing equipment. Every single label had been removed from every item of clothing in the suitcase, just like the clothes on the body. This was not coincidence. This was a pattern. Someone had systematically and deliberately removed every possible identifier from this man's entire existence. Whoever he was, he had gone to extraordinary lengths to make absolutely certain that if he was ever found, nobody would be able to identify him. The question was, why? Then came the discovery that changed everything. And it almost didn't happen at all. During a second, more thorough search of the dead man's clothing, investigators found something that had been missed entirely in the first examination. Sewn into the waistband of his trousers was a tiny hidden fob pocket, the kind designed to hold a pocket watch. Inside that pocket, tightly rolled up, was a small scrap of paper, 2 words, printed in an ornate typeset. Tamam Shud. A journalist recognized the phrase immediately. It is Persian. It translates to "it is finished, it is ended, it is over." The words are the final line of one of the most famous works of Persian poetry ever written, the Rubaiyat of Uncrackable, written in the 12th century by a Persian mathematician and philosopher. The Rubaiyat is a collection of poems about fate, mortality, love, and the acceptance of death. Its central theme is that life is short, regret is pointless, and when the end comes, it simply comes. Police launched a public appeal to find the specific edition the scrap had been torn from. Months later, a man came forward. He told police that on the night of November 30th, the night the Somerton man died, someone had thrown a copy of the Rubaiyat through the open window of his car while it was parked 1 block from Somerton Beach. He had thought nothing of it at the time. Police matched the torn scrap to the book. It was a perfect fit, but what they found inside the book was far more significant than the scrap itself. On the inside back cover of the book, detectives noticed faint indentations, the kind left when someone writes on a piece of paper placed on top of the page. Under special lighting, the indentations became visible. What they revealed has never been explained. A series of capital letters arranged in 5 lines. No spaces, no punctuation, no obvious pattern. Rogobabd MLIAOI Tutsamsgab MLIABOAIAQC IDN. Intelligence experts, military cryptographers, university mathematicians, and thousands of amateur codebreakers have studied these letters for over 75 years. nobody has ever produced a definitive decryption. The most credible theory is that it is a book cipher, a method of encrypted communication used extensively in Cold War espionage. In a book cipher, both the sender and receiver hold an identical copy of the same book. Specific letters or words in the book correspond to the message. Without the exact same addition, the cipher is virtually unbreakable. The Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, an obscure poetry book, rare in Australia, available in dozens of different editions, would have been a near-perfect vehicle for exactly this kind of communication. And then written separately inside the same book was a phone number. The phone number was enlisted. Police traced it to a young nurse named Jessica Thompson who lived less than 400 meters from where the body was found. When detectives interviewed her, she was visibly shaken. She admitted that she had given a copy of the Rubaiyat as a gift, but to an army lieutenant named Alfred Boxall, whom she had known during the war. She had written a verse inside the cover and signed it with the name Steen. Police were certain they had their man. They tracked down Alfred Boxall within days. He was alive and well and working at a bus depot in Sydney. His copy of the Rubaiyat was completely intact. The words Tamam Shud still on the final page, untouched. Another dead end. Jessica Thompson was shown a plastic cast made of the dead man's face. By multiple accounts, she reacted with visible distress but denied knowing him. She refused to say anything further and never publicly discussed the case again for the rest of her life. Years after her death, her own daughter stated that her mother had once privately admitted to knowing exactly who the Somerton man was, but had chosen to take that knowledge to her grave. Why? What was Jessica Thompson hiding? And why did a dead man with a hidden spy cipher have her unlisted phone number written in a rare poetry book found 1 block from her home? On the night he died on the beach 400 meters from her front door. 3 theories have dominated this case for over 75 years. The first is espionage. The removed labels. The American military threat. The undeciphered cipher. The proximity to Woomera, one of the most secretive weapons. Testing facilities in the world at the height of the Cold War. The fact that nobody ever came forward to claim the body despite massive national publicity. Every detail points toward a man who was operating in the shadows, and whose handlers could never safely come forward without exposing themselves. The second theory is that he was a spurned lover, that he had traveled to Adelaide specifically to find Jessica Thompson, that she had rejected him or was unreachable, and that he had poisoned himself on the beach closest to her home, leaving the words "it is finished" as his final message to her in a language only she would understand. The third development came in 2022. DNA analysis conducted by a research team at the University of Adelaide produced a result that made international headlines. They believed they had identified the Somerton man as Carl Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne who had gone missing in 1947. South Australian police have never officially confirmed the identification. The cipher has still never been decoded, and Jessica Thompson's secret died with her. Here is what we know for certain after 75 years of investigation. A man died on an Australian beach in 1948 with no identification. No confirmed cause of death, a hidden message written in a dead language, an unbreakable cipher that has defeated the world's best cryptographers, a secret phone number belonging to a woman who refused to talk, and clothing labels removed from every single item he owned. We know he was connected somehow to a woman who took his secrets to her grave. We know his code remains unbroken. We know that whoever he was, he went to extraordinary and meticulous lengths to make sure we would never find out. Tamam Shud. If you want to know what I think happened, drop it in the comments. And if you're new here, subscribe. There are more cases like this one coming.